Hello everybody, this is actually not my intro, but hey guys, NASCAR Mobile 48 back again. Welcome back to another NASCAR video, and this is been a return 3 years in a row, guys. We are back with the official NRR playoff predictions here. We're going to be predicting each round. We're going to go from round of 16, which will start today right before the Darlington race this weekend. Then we'll have our round of 12 prediction coming out of Bristol and going into the first race of the round of 12. We'll have our round of 8 predictions, and then we'll also have our championship 4 predictions the week, or yeah, I guess like a few days before the championship race is settled. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in. So what we're going to do first, we're going to go through each playoff driver just a little rapidly and talk about like their chances of just going through the first round. We're not going to talk about playoffs overall, but their chances throughout this first round and how safe they are, how unsafe they are. And then after we get through our final 16 driver, which is my boy Austin Dillon over there, which he's actually not my boy, he's really overrated and underhated in my opinion. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but once we get past Austin Dillon, then I'll give you guys my 4 drivers that I predict will be eliminated from the 2022 playoffs. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on into this video. Starting off with the regular season champ, Chastain, who's currently 33 points above the cut line from Daniel Suarez. I think he's going to be pretty safe and solid throughout this first round. Darlington, he has a good history there. Kansas has been a pretty good track for Chastain. He's won there before back in 2018 in Bristol. Elliott, he was close back in 2021, but the whole Kevin Harvick thing. And besides, literally 33 points above, literally I feel like everyone from like Joey Logano on down still has a shot of possibly being eliminated or moving on, but I think Chase Elliott for now is safe. Next up, sitting in second in the playoffs, is Joey Logano, who's currently 18 above from Daniel Suarez, who's in 13th. Logano seems pretty good going into the playoffs. I feel like he's a driver that is not talked about. We have always had those playoff drivers that have not really been talked about going into the playoffs, and Austin Dillon was one of them back in 2020, and look what he did. And so Joey Logano is definitely one of those drivers coming into this one. Literally, we're going to Darlington. He won the he won the Goodyear 400 there, so he could win the Southern 500, just an extra 100 laps, I'm pretty sure, or actually less than 100 laps, I don't know. And in Kansas, one of his best mile-and-a-half tracks. In Bristol, he's won there before, and he won a dirt Bristol, but that doesn't really matter. But I feel like Joey Logano looks pretty good heading into the playoffs, or just the round of 16 overall. This is an interesting one. Ross Chastain, third in the playoff standings, plus 13 above the cut line from his teammate Daniel Suarez. I feel like Chastain could make some noise. Darlington, he looked like he was going to have a pretty strong run there, but then kind of made a mistake at the beginning of the final stage and took himself out. Kansas, I'm pretty sure he ran pretty well there, and he's been really good at the intermediates all season long. And then Bristol, the classic bump and run, he'll be pissing off a lot of drivers, but someone may give him the bumpers, so if the first 2 races don't really go good for Chastain, it could be it for him. But I think Chastain has enough experience and enough talent and just the mentality to make it through the first round. Kyle Larson in 4th right now in the playoffs, plus 12 above the cut line. Wasn't where he was last year, but still a pretty consistent driver. I think he'll make it off really well throughout this first round. Darlington didn't really go the way it did, with a bit of an engine issue I'm pretty sure he had in that race. Kansas, it was a decent race, I guess, Kyle Larson standards. And then Bristol, he won this race a year ago, even though it could have been Chase Elliott or Kevin Harvick's race, and he probably would have rounded up finishing in 3rd. Larson's still good at Bristol. This is definitely, in my opinion, one of his best short tracks, and he hasn't even won here yet. So watch out for Larson in the first round. William Byron, 5th in the standings right now, plus 7 above the cut line. Byron has been one of those iffy drivers because he's done really well to start off the season, but ever since Dover, it has just been hell for this number 24 team. They're just not consistent. They're literally the Alex Bowman of 2021, where Bowman won all these races. Even though Byron's only won 2, Bowman won some races, but was pretty inconsistent, and that's where Byron is right now, because his average finish isn't even like top 15, I'm pretty sure. But hey, we'll see how he does. Darlington's coming up this weekend, so he could do pretty well there. Then we're off to Kansas. He was running really well there until I believe he had a flat tire down the front stretch, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But he's still pretty good at the intermediate, so watch out for him there. And then Bristol has also been a pretty decent track for him. That's the track where he had to at least have a really good points finish to even advance into the round of 12. So watch out for Willie B. Denny Hamlin, plus 6 above the cut line right now, sitting in 6th in the playoff standings right now. He has some soreness after the Daytona race, so he will not be racing in the Xfinity race this weekend. Instead, it'll be Christopher Bell, some extra practice for the 20 car. But for Denny Hamlin, even though he's going to take that race off, I feel like he should still do well at Darlington. Darlington, definitely one of his best tracks, and he ran really well in that number 11 throwback last season, but then kind of gotten taken out of that one during that big wreck down the backstretch earlier this year. So hopefully something like that can stay out of his way, because he literally won this race a year ago. So we'll see if Hamlin can get it done. Kansas, that's where he got like his first top 5 that wasn't like a win or something. So Hamlin can make some noise there. And then Bristol, it can be either or, hit or miss. We'll have to see. But I feel like Hamlin should be good enough, should do well enough in the first 2 races that he wouldn't even have to worry about Bristol. 7th, Ryan Blaney, the driver who took the final spot in the playoffs, technically 7th in the playoff standings, who's currently 6 above the cut line, just like Denny Hamlin. Blaney, we'll see how he does, because I remember back in 2020, it did not go well. I know because they had like a points deduction and stuff, this whole penalty right before the playoffs started, but we'll see how Blaney will do, because it seems like the first round can be a little bit of a struggle, but we shall see. Darlington, he did decently well there, in my opinion. Kansas, it's just Kansas. It's just some regular mile and a half. I feel like he's been at least strong at some of these intermediates. And then Bristol is definitely one of his best tracks, but sometimes he just cannot get the finish. So we'll see how Blaney will do. I'm a little bit skeptical of him moving forward, but I feel like that there's like just some other drivers in the playoff field that aren't as experienced or as good as Blaney, that they could get knocked out before he does. 2nd playoff appearance for the number 8, Tyler Reddick, currently 5 points above the cut line. As you can see, the cut line is really close. So literally, like I said, from Logano on down, anything can happen. Any one of those drivers could have 1 or 2 bad races and could be on the ropes of being eliminated. But on to Tyler Reddick. We'll see how Reddick will do. He's definitely one of the strongest ones coming into the playoffs. This is only his 2nd playoff appearance. I feel like he's going to do exceptionally well, if that's a word. Darlington, he finished 2nd there last year. I know he had a lot of things go his way, but I still think Reddick can make some noise there. Then we're off to Kansas. He ran pretty well there until he got up into the walls, kind of messed himself up, or some tire issues, so hopefully some bad luck, just like for William Byron, can stay out of his way. And then Bristol was a bit of a struggle for him last year, but this is a new next-gen car, so hopefully things will go better. But I think Reddick should be good enough to make it into the round of 12. Now we have the closer, Kevin Harvick, who got 2 wins in just the last 4 races, so that shows how much of a hot streak he's on. He's currently 5 points above the cut line, just like Tyler Reddick. Feel like Harvick's going to do pretty well as well, because I'm pretty sure Darlington wasn't really the best for him, but up until that wreck, he was able to get a higher finish than what he could have gotten. And in Kansas, definitely one of Harvick's better tracks, but we'll see how he can do. He's gotten a bit better, so he should have a really good finish there. And Bristol, like I said, close. He was close there last year, but then he made Chase Elliott mad, and Chase Elliott kind of cost him the win. So we'll see if Harvick can not make any drivers mad and hopefully get a win to seal his way into the round of 12. 10th in the standings is Christopher Bell, +4. I'm actually really excited to see what Bell can do, because at the beginning of the year, it was not looking hot for him, but he's turned it around after like the first couple of races, probably the first 3, 4, 5, 6 races. He was able to turn it around. He's on a bit of a hot streak right now after getting that win in New Hampshire about a month back, so you gotta watch out for Christopher Bell. Darlington, I feel like having the Xfinity race will definitely do him some good. Going into Kansas, I feel like just Joe Gibbs has been pretty good at the intermediate tracks, except for some, but I feel like Kansas should be a good one for Bell. And then Bristol didn't really go as planned last year for Bell. That's why, well, actually no, Bell made it to the round of 12. So I think Bristol, did go well for them last year. So I think Bell should be a nice solid driver to go into the round of 12. Never thought I'd say this, but Kyle Busch only 3 points above the cut line, sitting in 11th in the standings. It has not been the year for them, but we'll see how things go, because I feel like Kyle Busch, we see a different kind of Kyle Busch going into the playoffs. Literally, I kind of felt like, well, of course I knew he would do better compared to like 2020 than he did last year, because 2020 didn't even win a race until like during the playoffs, and then last year won 2 races right before the playoffs, and then he kind of shut off a little bit. But now for Kyle Busch, I feel like he can do really well. Like I said earlier, Darlington, look really well, but these past 2 Darlington races have not gone in his favor. Literally, he keeps wrecking coming out of turn 2, whether it's getting into Austin Dillon or getting into Brad K. So hopefully if he can just stay out of the turn 2 wall, I feel like Kyle Busch will be okay. But 2 DNFs in the past 2 Darlington races does not look promising. And then going on to Kansas, I feel like Kyle Busch can make a nice solid gain there. He won there last year in the spring, so that should be really good. And finally, Bristol, definitely one of his better tracks, so I feel like Kyle Busch should do there. So the one track, if you're a Kyle Busch fan, that you should worry about is this weekend. Final driver in the playoffs, Chase Briscoe in 12th, only 2 points above the cut line from Daniel Suarez. Briscoe has had a really solid start to the season. It just has not been able to continue with that momentum throughout the rest of the year. I mean, yes, he's had some shining moments throughout the season, like we could take, for instance, Bristol Dirt. Took out a driver for the win, and he didn't even win the race. He finished like below 20th. And then moving on to Charlotte, looked like he was going to have a nice battle with Kyle Larson, or even get a second place finish at Charlotte. Took himself out, somehow, someway, still was able to get a top 5 finish, but that's whatever. But we'll see how Briscoe can do, because I feel like these last few races have not been in his favor, but things can change. There's a lot of other drivers in this playoff field, so just got to watch out. Darlington wasn't really a good finish. Kansas, it wasn't also that really good. And then Bristol last year, well, that was last year in the Gen 6 car, so we got to see what he can do this year in this car. Final driver, or the first driver currently out of the playoffs, Daniel Suarez, -2 below the cut line. I feel like Daniel Suarez can make some noise right now, because that Sonoma win definitely got him hyped. He only got a 1-year contract extension, which was kind of confusing, because I feel like he'd get a multi-year deal. But I will admit, these last few races have not really been the best for Suarez, but some circumstances happened, so I'm not really sure. I can't really say much on Daniel Suarez in my opinion. But moving on to the races, Darlington, I think he finished like 11th there. It could have been a little bit better, but Darlington's definitely not one of his best tracks. I mean, literally, I think his best run at Darlington was like when he was in like the 41 car back in 2019. And then Kansas, I feel like a mile and a half should be a nice solid finish for him, because he can run really good at the intermediate. So don't count out Daniel Suarez, because he can make some really good runs here. I mean, remember Texas in the All-Star race? I know it was the All-Star race, but he got a nice solid top 5 finish there. And then Bristol, like I said, Gen 6 car, it's going to be a different one right now. But Bristol, I feel like he also has not really done that well in Bristol since he was with SHR in the 41 car. So we'll have to wait and see what Daniel Suarez can do in this round. But I feel like he should, and I say air quote, should be good. Sitting in 14th, -3, is Austin Cindric. In my opinion, Austin Cindric has not really done much since he got his win in the Daytona 500. But as of late, and in some of the summer races, he's had a good stretch. But then as of late, like in the late summer stretch, it hasn't really been good. I mean, you saw the wreck at Michigan. That didn't really go so well. And he almost had this win at Daytona, which would have been really good momentum going into the playoffs, but kind of got put in by Austin Dillon. And I still don't know how Cindric was not mad about that, but we'll see how Cindric can do. Darlington, I'm not sure where he finished there last year. I don't think he finished top. Oh yeah, I think he did finish top 10. Maybe because of the circumstances that happened earlier in that race. And then moving on to Kansas, he's been pretty decent at the mile and a halves, but I don't think he'll be as good as like the rest of the playoff competitors. So that's going to be a bit of a concern. So he has to pick up his game there. And then Bristol, he did really well in the Xfinity race last year. He didn't win it, but that's the Xfinity Series. It's a new car. Whole thing. We have not raced at Bristol yet, so it's really hard to decide. So it's going to actually be pretty exciting to see the final race to get into the round of 12. But we'll see how Cindric can do. My boy Alex Bowman, 15th, -3 below the cut line, just like Austin Cindric. Bowman, they started off the season really hot, and then once we hit the summer, it just went plummeting downhill. From June to technically to Daytona, it has not really been the best. I'm pretty sure they've only had 1 top 10 since then, or maybe 2, so it has not really been the best summer stretch. And really, Bowman hasn't really done good in the summers before, so we'll see how he can do. They just got to improve. They just got to get their heads together. Crew chief can't mess up, driver can't mess up, pit crew can't mess up, no one can mess up. It all has to come together, and this is Greg Ives' last season, and a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's kind of Greg Ives, and I kind of agree with them. Greg Ives has done some things where I didn't like. Some of the setups have not really been good. Like take New Hampshire for example. Bad car, that Bowman started in the back and got taken out early, and I can't really blame him for that because Bowman is really good. He's pretty decent at New Hampshire, so that does not make any sense to me. But we shall see what will happen. Darlington, they had an issue with the car, and they weren't really running good all day. I'm pretty sure the highest they were running was like 14th, maybe even 11th. I'm not really sure. Kansas, he finished top 10 there, so I think he should do good on the intermediate tracks. And then Bristol finished 5th there last year, but that was with the old car, so we shall see what he can do here. But Bristol is definitely one of Bowman's better tracks, so we shall see with the number 48 Chevrolet. And the final driver, currently -4 below the cut line, Austin Dillon, the somewhat playoff stud, is in here for the 5th time in his NASCAR Cup Series career. It has not really been the best season for Austin Dillon, mostly because he's just been getting outran by his teammate Tyler Reddick. But for some weird reason, apparently him and Tyler Reddick have the same average finish, and Reddick has 2 more wins than Dillon. So that's kind of confusing there, but what can you say about the season? Darlington actually was not bad for Austin Dillon. I'm pretty sure they only got a top 10, but you got to think we had circumstances early in the race with big wreck. A lot of competitive drivers were taken out. That's probably why Austin Dillon got a top 10. And then we also move on to Kansas, where he was actually not bad. So I feel like he can make some noise at the intermediates, like Auto Club. Finished 2nd there earlier this year. So watch out for Kansas. And then Bristol is not really an Austin Dillon track in my opinion, but I feel like he could make some noise there because he has more experience at Bristol than, like, I would say Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe, so he can take that to his advantage. So watch out for Austin Dillon. He may be -4, but it's only -4. Anything can happen. And now it is time to make my playoff predictions. Who are the 4 drivers that I believe will be eliminated from the playoffs? Let me show you who, and let me tell you why. First up, we have Chase Briscoe. Just for Chase Briscoe, it's really just easy to say, but first off, let's talk about Darlington for him. So his average finish at Darlington, the Cup Series, is 16.7. Earlier this year, like I said, he finished 20th. Kansas, average finish of 21st. He finished 24th earlier this year. And then Bristol last year, he finished 13th, but like I said, new car, it's going to be different. And he only has 1 top 5 in the last 13 races. It just hasn't been consistent. He just hasn't been consistent since the beginning of this year, and he's been making some over-aggressive mistakes. So I even feel like when he's put into a position where he can possibly win, he'll probably make something happen. I mean, we saw Daytona, went from 0 to 0. Same thing with Bristol Dirt. Looked like he was going to catch the race leader and possibly pass him for the race win, but he just made a dumb mistake, took them both out. And Charlotte kind of went a bit too hot in there. So it's really hard to say off of Chase Briscoe. Anything can happen, like I said, but I feel like he's definitely one of the weakest links heading into the playoffs. And besides, this is his first playoff appearance, and like we saw off of Tyler Reddick last year in his first playoff appearance, he didn't move on. Next up, my second driver would be Austin Cindric. So earlier this year, Cindric finished 18th at Darlington, which is not really the best. Kansas, he did finish 11th, so he had a pretty decent car, and I feel like he's gotten better since then, because that was earlier in the year. We're now towards like the end of the year. I feel like Cindric's gotten a little bit better, but is it good enough? And then Bristol, I don't know how in the hell he's going to do. But for Cindric, he's had 2 top 5s in the last 7 races. Now he looks well to start the summer, but he's kind of struggled towards the end of the summer. Like he's had some like 20th and below finishes and stuff, and he hasn't, and like I said earlier, he hasn't really done much except like the road courses. But since the Daytona 500 victory, minus the road courses, Cindric has not really done much in my opinion, and this is his first playoff appearance as a rookie, and that doesn't really go well for rookies in the past who made their first playoff appearance. Now for Chase Elliott, he was exceptionally well, and then Kyle Larson, first time he made the playoffs, he got taken out in the first round. So I feel like even like great drivers in the future just don't really start off, right now. So they don't start off well right now. So we'll see how Cindric will do. It's really hard to say because like you have veteran drivers compared to these young ones. So it's just really hard to say. And Cindric has not really been all that this year. So I feel like he's probably going to get eliminated. It's hard saying this, hard doing this, but you can't really ignore the facts. Bowman, I feel like he's probably going to get eliminated as well, because Darlington earlier this year didn't go well. He finished 29th because they had an issue, but hopefully they don't have that same kind of issue this time. Kansas finished 9th, which is pretty good. Bristol last year finished 5th. Bowman definitely has probably more experience than the drivers that I picked to be eliminated, but probably more experience than some of the other drivers in the field, like a Reddick, a Dillon, a Suarez, and even Briscoe and Cindric, who are young drivers only in their first, second season in the Cup Series and already made the playoffs. But for Bowman, the reason I picked him is like one top 10 in the last 12 races, and that was at Michigan, finished 9th. Summer stretch has been a complete struggle. Some can be put on the crew chief, like I said, Greg Ives. I mostly put that blame on the New Hampshire race. That was a complete waste. Some could be put on the car setup. Some could be on Bowman, the driver, at some tracks. Could be even be on the pit crew. Like Richmond, Bowman looked pretty decent. He started to fall back a little bit, but the pit crew put him way behind the 8 ball, and it was just hard for them to come back, and just etc. But it doesn't give them, but they just don't have the momentum going into the playoffs, in my opinion. They were close. They were really running well at Daytona, but tried to get off the 14, but was getting shoved in the back, so it was kind of too late. Then Briscoe got loose, and all hell broke loose. So it's hard to say, but you can't ignore the facts. I do think Bowman will be eliminated. It's kind of disappointing, but hopefully I'm wrong on this one. But here's one prediction that I for sure know that I am not wrong on. And it is this guy, Austin Dillon. That is right. Okay, here's my reasons. But first off, Darlington this year, he finished 9th. So that's really good. But like I said, circumstances happen. Kansas finished 13th, which is pretty good. But you have to beat a whole other bunch of drivers. And I'm pretty sure there were a whole bunch of playoff drivers who finished pretty high ahead of him. And then Bristol last year finished 15th. But that was last year. Things can change, so he could finish better, he could finish worse. But another reason why I'm picking him is because he just got here. I know this is like his 5th time making the playoffs in like 7-8 seasons, but he's just not that guy. I mean, I'll admit, 2016, when he pointed his way in and made it to the round of 12, that was pretty impressive, and that was his first time in the playoffs. In 2020, where he got that win at Texas, and he made it to the round of 12, he looked really strong in the round of 16. Darlington is definitely one of his best tracks, so I feel like that's the #1 track where he has to do really good points-wise. I don't know about winning it, but he needs to do well points-wise. 2 top 10s in the last 14 races, which is not good. And like I said, man's literally just entered the playoffs. He's definitely overrated. He's technically underhated as well. And in my opinion, he's just not a true contender. And he's a waste of a playoff spot. And like I've said in the last video of when I reviewed that Daytona race, there are probably like 4 drivers that I think that could actually have a nice, decently shot at the playoffs. Or doing well in the playoffs compared to Austin Dillon. Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell. Those are the main 4 drivers that I feel like if they would have made it into the playoffs, they could have made some noise, made something happen compared to this guy who has to show life in the fast lane that is complete crap. Complete crap. But Race of the Champions comes out tonight, so I'm excited to see that. It's definitely going to be 100 times better than this show that I wouldn't not even give a C-. But anyway, that's it for that. So my 4 predictions are Dillon, Briscoe, Cindric, and Bowman. And last time I picked Dillon to be eliminated from the playoffs back in 2020, made it onto the round of 12. So hopefully this isn't a rhythm here, or whatever you call it. But I don't know. I for sure know he's not going to make it on. But here are the 4 drivers that I believe that will be eliminated. So I believe the round of 12 will consist of Harvick, Bell, Busch, Elliott, Logano, Chastain, Byron, Harvick, Hamlin, Blaney, Reddick, and Suarez. So those are my predictions. So let me know down in the comment section below, who do you think will be the first 4 drivers eliminated after the Bristol race? Please let me know down in the comment section below. While you're at it, like this video, comment, do all that, share, subscribe, and subscribe to this channel. Like I said, we are over 200 subs, so I still really appreciate you guys for hitting 200 subs on the main channel. We are at 220, I believe, so we are really close to 250. Like 30 away, and then we're like 60 away from 300. So guys, let's keep this sub count going up. But I do really appreciate your viewership and tuning in. Thank you guys so much for watching. Want to check out my Instagram? Link will be in the description. Also want to check out my my gaming channel, NASCAR Gaming 48. Link will also be down in the description below. Should be uploading, I believe, a NASCAR 21 Ignition video up tomorrow. So make sure you guys subscribe down there so you do not miss out. Thanks for hitting over 100 subs on that channel. I believe we're at like 105. So let's keep the stuff going, and we should be looking good on that channel. Wait, did I say 60? No, I'm 80 away from 300. Oh my god, I can't do math. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I shall see you guys in the next one. This is NASCAR Mobile 48. Peace out.